Right now, inside the Hong Kong Palace Museum, something unprecedented is happening. Seven major Egyptian museums and active dig sites just packaged up 250 of their most prized sacred treasures and flew them straight to Hong Kong. We're talking about an exhibition covering nearly 5,000 years of civilization. It's called Ancient Egypt Unveiled, and it is a massive deal. But here's the thing, most people look at these artifacts and see them as cool old stuff. I'm further east. Today, we're going to decode five specific mind blowing masterpieces from this exhibition to show how they tell the entire epic story of Egyptian history. From absolute pharaonic power to dark religious revolutions, down to the secrets freshly dug out of the desert sand. Let's dive into the history. Let's start near the beginning, during Egypt's Middle Kingdom. If you walk into the first section, the land of pharaohs, you're confronted by this, the colossal head of Senusret I. Just looking at the size of this surviving granite head, archaeologists calculate that the original full-body statue stood an incredible 10 meters tall. Why build something so ridiculously massive? Well, because in ancient Egypt, size was power. Pharaohs weren't just politicians, they were the literal bridges between the gods and humanity. They held the entire universe's order together, a concept called Ma'at. Senusret I is wearing the iconic white crown, symbolizing his absolute rule over Upper Egypt. Now, even though the body of this specific statue is lost to time, records show that it tells an epic story of historical ego. Centuries after it was made, the famous Ramesses II came along and usurped the entire monument, claiming it as his own. In ancient Egypt, if you didn't protect your monuments, future kings would literally hit backspace on your legacy and steal your hard work. But while the pharaohs were busy carving their names in giant stone to show off their power, someone actually had to run the country. And that required a completely different kind of superpower, brain power. Let's look at the elite 1% who held the entire empire together. If you venture further into the first gallery, you run right into this, the seated statue of a scribe. During the Old and Middle Kingdoms, literacy was an absolute luxury. Experts estimate that less than 1% of the entire population could read and write. Scribes were the elite bureaucracy, the guys calculating taxes, tracking the Nile's floods, designing pyramids, and recording military victories. What this piece tells us about Egyptian history is that behind the grand mythology of the gods and kings stood a highly organized, literate administrative machine. While the pharaohs demanded rigid, idealized, godlike poses to prove their immortality, look at how the culture treated its intellectuals. He's sitting cross-legged, focused, ready to work, holding a papyrus scroll. This piece represents the literal brains that allowed a desert empire to maintain its continuity and power for thousands of years. But while the scribes kept the gears of the empire turning smoothly during stable times, Egypt was about to face absolute political and religious chaos from the throne itself. Next, we step into the section titled The World of Tutankhamun. This is the crown jewel of the exhibition, the colossal statue of Tutankhamun. Standing at over 2.8 meters tall, it is the only monumental stone sculpture of King Tut still left inside Egypt until it traveled to Hong Kong. Everybody knows King Tut because of his shiny gold mask, but this statue tells his actual political story. Tutankhamun's father, Akhenaten, was a radical rebel who banned all the traditional gods to worship just one sun god. It threw Egypt into complete chaos. When Tut took the throne at just 9 years old, he made the monumental decision to reverse his dad's reforms, reopening the temples and bringing back the old gods. The coolest part of this display? The museum uses cutting-edge projection mapping to virtually overlay the vivid red and blue pigments that used to cover this quartzite stone thousands of years ago. It's like stepping directly into the new kingdom. Moving deeper into the exhibition, we hit the section, The Secrets of Saqqara, where we uncover the religious shift of Egypt's late period. Enter the internet's favorite ancient deity, Bastet. This stunning bronze statue depicts Bastet holding a sistrum, a sacred musical rattle. Now, early in Egyptian history, Bastet was a terrifying, ruthless war goddess associated with lions. But over thousands of years, as Egyptian history evolved and domestic cats became central to Egyptian life, her image shifted. She transformed into a gentle, cat-headed protector of the home, fertility, and music. The exhibition, which features real, mummified cats alongside the statue, shows how deeply intertwined the natural world and the spirituality were for everyday Egyptians. They saw the divine in the very animals sitting corners away from them. The final chapter of Egyptian history is all about preservation and looking to the afterlife. The showcase features the gorgeous Anthropoid coffin of Nesut-Bity, a painted wooden sarcophagus from the late period. What makes this section insane is that it features brand new, cutting edge archaeological finds from Saqqara, a massive city of the dead right outside Cairo. What this coffin isn't something that has been sitting in the museum basement for 100 years. It was pulled out of the desert dust recently. The colors look unbelievably fresh, showing the face of the deceased wrapped in protective spells and images of deities designed to guide their soul through the underworld. It is a reminder that Egyptian history isn't static. We are still actively uncovering it. From the massive granite ego of the early pharaohs to the quiet brilliance of the scribes, and down to the sacred animal protectors of the later dynasties, Ancient Egypt Unveiled showed us that this civilization wasn't just obsessed with death, they were deeply obsessed with immortality. And seeing these objects right here in Hong Kong proves that they achieved it. Thousands of years later, we are still standing here, completely captivated by their story. If you are in Hong Kong, you have until August 2026 to catch this in person. Which treasure blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button for more history breakdowns, and I'll see you next time.